Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name is Josh Albrecht, and with me, as always, is my good friend, John Taylor. Hi, John. How we doing?
Hey, Josh, I'm doing well. Fun little weekend for Brewers baseball. So, seeing as it's the only thing going on, I'm happy to see it.
Yeah. Love what's happening there. Didn't love as much that we didn't get to do an episode last week. That's on me, everyone. That's on me. I was in London. I had the opportunity to go to the UK for the first time, probably only time, and I took advantage of it. And I went, and it was super duper cool, totally worth it. Highlight was I got to see Eric Clapton in concert at the Royal Albert Hall, which is like one of their like biggest concert venues. Like Queen Victoria was like, we need a concert hall in 1846 or something, and I don't know, but very cool, awesome concert, awesome show, awesome time. But I do apologize for being gone, but I'm happy to be back, and I'm glad that now that we are back, that the Brewers are giving us something positive to talk about here for once, because things were not looking good, John. I feel like the last time that we talked, we were like, hey, they got to figure something out. And then immediately following that episode, the next few, they did not figure things out.
Correct.
Going down that path of negativity.
Yeah,
And,
when we spoke last, they had just lost their third series in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Rays, Guardians, Twins. They did their classic we win games on Wednesday, or we win the third game of the series. And I remember we were having a conversation where I pretty much was like, their offense is not giving you what you want from the guys you expected it from. We needed to find offense in places to replace Willie, and we're getting less from the people we expected. And I think I remember saying that I thought we needed to go 5-6 or 5-2 or 6-1 over that 7-game stretch between the Orioles and the Pirates, because we were looking down the barrel of a pretty gnarly 6-game road trip. Well, they didn't do what I wanted. They went
no.
They split the series with the Pirates, and obviously they lost one against the Orioles, so they went 4-3 on that stand. Temperature check: where were you once that final Pirates split went after that 7-game series? How are you feeling?
Not good.
Yeah,
not good. I was. Listen, I've always been a overreacting sports fan. It's in my emotional nature, but I feel like I've been pretty level-headed on the whole season thus far. But I was like, yeah, they're just not figuring it out. It's not even like they're hot and cold. It's just consistently they're losing more than they're winning consistently. That's bad. And it was like they're not figuring it out. And so I was mentally preparing for all right, who's getting cut, who's getting replaced, is Murph already on the hot seat? Are these conversations going to start soon? I went to a very dark place as a Brewers fan.
Yeah, it was I don't know if I went that far, because I think, like we talked about, what the season we're getting right now from the Brewers, I think at least how it was feeling was the season we expected last year to be, where we were like, oh, okay, we're getting some pretty big sophomore slumps. We're seeing some older guys age out in ways we weren't excited about. I mean, specifically Christian Yelich, which obviously we're bearing the lead because he absolutely turned it around this last 7-game series. But yeah, I was right there with you. I just went, oh, this is going to be like a barely above 500 team. I think there was going to be points of frustration about their bullpen usage and how they plan on trying to get wins. I felt like during that 7-game stretch, they pitched Mears, Abner, and McGill like 3 or 4 days in a row. They were like absolutely toast, and so we were losing games against the Pirates because we just didn't have anybody, and then we were blowing leads, right? I just want to note there was a lot of transactions that happened over this last little bit, so I'm trying not to. I don't want to like dive off if we're just talking about overall vibes, but the Brewers have seen a pretty big overhaul in their pitching staff, which is also something we've been talking about, and I think needing to happen. Yeah, surprising. Yeah, so But that's where I was at with those games. I really felt like they needed to win at least 5-2. I honestly was like, they need to go 6-1 if they want to, if they can even show that they can like gut it out and win it. So, 4-3 was not great. Was not happy. Obviously, they win in spectacular fashion against the Red Sox. Two really like what both of the two of the wins. The last two were extra innings.
Mm-hmm.
How did this happen? How do we get here? Big hits late. At this point, it's almost a week. They're about a week old at this point. But
can I say one thing on that too? Unless I heard it wrong, Christian Yelich's first walk-off home run was that grand slam.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. 5-1. Yeah.
Isn't that a little surprising? That he like you just think back to like Prince and Braun, and you're like, oh, there were plenty.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in Christian's career, his first one ever, I was very surprised to hear that. I was like, first walk-off grand slam, sure. First walk-off home run, period. Surprised.
Yeah, that is surprising. I mean, he's missed so much time, right? And so,
that's true, I guess.
You would have, I just would have assumed in one of it, like 18, 19, those.
Exactly, yeah.
Seasons, obviously. It's some of the best baseball I've ever seen a Brewer play. So it's like, yeah, it is just like surprising, but maybe you're just not in those opportunities very often. It's like he's hitting in the cleanup. It's like,
yeah,
if people aren't, old rules, you get a run and the game's over. So, it could just be he was never really given the opportunity. I mean, I'm sure there's obviously the stats out there. I'm not going to take the time to look them up.
Yeah, no.
Surprising stat either way, just given the fact that he's always, pre back injury and all the stuff that's befallen him, he was always a big time hitter in big time moments, right? So that's what made him so great. So yeah, that is really surprising. But what a game that was.
Oh yeah, incredible.
I was watching that live. I couldn't believe it. It was one of those things where I looked down. I'm like, oh great. It was one of those things like we had to fight, right? Didn't they? Yeah, it was. Yeah. We got an out, and then I was like, great. So we'll see what happens. It's like I never feel all that positive, especially being at the top of the ninth or the top of the 10th. We hit that,
right?
And then that was in Milwaukee. Sorry, I keep getting my
bottom, but yeah,
incredible. And then and then we just the next day they look bad. I honestly, we were down what? I can actually look at the box score real quick. They were down by a good amount. It was 3-1 after the fourth, make it 3-2. We get up, right, and then we give it right back, and then we find her, in the seventh, and we get right back.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, another great late game. Manufacture some runs, make it happen. Call that a baseball game, So, yeah, it was great.
So let me ask you before we get into the specifics, which we will talk about, but. So that's where the vibe was after the last podcast. Now they're on this heater, right? They're showing some exciting wins, right? Pulling some stuff out. Now what's your vibe check? Knowing that they're still third in the division and they are 5.5 back of the Cubs.
Yeah. I mean, they just have to keep playing this. For me, it's like they just need to keep playing this. They need to be at where they were last year in terms of offense and playing good defense. So where are my vibes? I'm not really worried about the standings right now. They just need to keep playing this level of baseball, and it'll sort out. And either it'll work out or it won't. Like I keep saying, I cannot believe the Cardinals are performing this well after them openly saying they're letting guys walk. They're shrinking the payroll. They are not interested in having this massive, paychecks due every year for these players. So that's incredible. And I'm not surprised the Cubs are doing well. So they're on a 2-game win streak too. They were slumping and winning kind of parallel with the Brewers. So it's like we never really gained any ground, even though we were finding our footing. So we'll see. 5.5 is striking distance. I would say this stretch makes it seem considerably less likely that they'll be sellers. I was fully prepared to be like, we got to trade Reese.
Agreed.
I was fully prepared to be like, which closer is going to get traded so we could find a third baseman to try to switch this up. Like, there's reports like somebody went on ESPN and was like, Brewers could be sellers with Freddie Peralta, and it's like, well, we are competing, and then it became very obvious we were not competing. So, but I think this team, if they can keep this going, if they could still add somebody, the pitching is, we're starting to have a lot of pitchers again. We're getting guys back, and it's like people are getting option back down, DFA'd. It's getting, the rooms are getting crowded again, which obviously lends itself to assets that we could try to flip to really get. We still need a third baseman. I mean, Caleb Durbin has been playing well, but he's still, I think until
the answer.
Until it clicks for him entirely, he's just going to have to be, he's a, what's the word I'm looking for? He's a utility guy. He's just, it just is what it is. Like, and that's fine. You know, I think he's a fun and interesting piece for these guys, but you think like the last 7 games he's played, he's had 6 hits, 5 RBIs, 2 walks, and a stolen. So it's like, it's not like he's not doing well, but I just don't know if you need somebody with a bigger bat and you can rely on more consistently. You know, he's hit 1 home run, and that was like, wasn't that pretty early on?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time since he's hit that. So, which is fine, but I want to see more out of that position. It's a slugging position. We need somebody there who can slug, and we just don't have it.
Yeah.
But
I think for me at this point, just the vibe check, I think I just feel uncomfortable. I'm not worried per se, but the recent success of the Brewers that we've seen has not been them coming from behind, you know, near the All-Star break talk. You know, it's just that this isn't, we've been in the driver's seat because the division has been bad. So even though we've had things to complain about, right, in the last couple of seasons, you know, the bats are cold, pitching injuries, whatever it is, we were still in first. Maybe it was only by a game or two, but we've dominated the standings of the division the last couple seasons. We've been there, right? We were with Council, then we were last year with Murph. Like, it's how things were, and just I'm not saying that I don't think that this Brewers team has it or that they can do it. I feel uncomfortable. This is new territory over the last couple of years as a Brewers fan, to be not even in second place, being in third place in the division and going, okay, they still got to figure something out if they're going to get ahead of, you know, these other teams. So that's the one thing that I'm looking at right now and feeling is just, it's not just how the Brewers are performing. It's now there's some competition in the division and there's less room for error. And these teams, you know, this Brewers team need to figure it out and lock in like now. And luckily they've done that over the last 7 games.
Yeah. All we can hope is that this is a new level of consistency they found, and hopefully we can get back to relying on some of the pitching that helped make it so when our offense is faltering, we're not just eating 1-0 losses, 2-0 losses. There's, like I said, there's some transactions that took place.
Yeah, let's get into that. Yeah.
So let's get into it. In the last 10 days, the Brewers have made, I would say, 7 meaningful transactions, actually 8, including today. Yeah, there's been a lot. Starting May 21st, Brandon Woodruff sent back down to Nashville on a rehab assignment with a bad ankle. So who knows how long? I mean, there is a window there that it's like 60 days, right? That they have to like.
Yep.
So hopefully he can get his velo back. I mean, that last stint the last outing did not produce the way you wanted. So if they're thinking it's his ankle injury, then it's like, fine, go get better. Hopefully we get him back. Like, I was not expecting it to take this long, but it is what it is. I don't know. They built a roster that can compete without him. So if they have to do that, so be it. I'm looking at, like, you know, when we talk about the last couple of years that we've had Chris Middleton be hurt, and we talk about getting him back around the trade deadline, and you go, yeah, the best trade we could do is get Chris Middleton back, right? And so that's kind of how I feel about Brandon Woodruff. If and when he's back, if his mix looks good and his stuff looks good and his velo looks good and he's healthy, it's like, I'll take that for 5 games. You know what I mean? And heading into the playoffs, because
Yeah.
he's a consummate professional. We've talked about this. Like before all of the injuries happened, I was on team keep Woodruff over Burns because it's just like it's
1000%.
more realistic. It aligns better culturally in terms of like what we can offer, all of that stuff. So, so he got sent down May 21st. May 22nd, Aaron Savali recalled from the 15-day IL. Designated right-handed pitcher Yoel Payamps for assignment.
Pamps.
Yeah, Joel Payamps for assignment. They recalled right-handed pitcher Carlos Rodriguez from Nashville, optioned Easton McGee to Nashville. So there's a lot to unpack just even in that one transaction. Easton McGee got hurt, never really got his due. He's been called up a few times to make roster stuff work on all of the teams he's been on and has been optioned shortly thereafter. Happened again this time. Unfortunate. Carlos Rodriguez came back. Remember, there was big reports between like McCalvy and Hogue that one of Sabali or Carrod was going to be called up to help in this like 4-game series, and they ended up doing both. They ended up pitching both, and that was like the loss, right? Like Carlos Rodriguez came in and gave, I don't remember what game it was, but he pitched a hell of an effort. I don't know if that was the one they won or lost. I wish I'm not going to dig around and look for it. Like
I can't. I'll look it up.
Either way, story just being that he pitched one hell of an effort and then proceeds to immediately get optioned back down to Nashville the next day because Aaron Ashby's back. So at this time, we see Aaron Savali reinstated. We see Aaron Ashby reinstated. And then for those keeping track at home, called up, sent back down Joel Payamps, and then, DFA'd Joel Payamps, and then called up and dropped Carlos Rodriguez. That was a span of 48 hours.
Yep.
So they're all coming at the same time. So 3 days, casually just hanging out. Reinstated left-handed pitcher DL Hall from the 60-day IL, optioned Logan Henderson to Nashville, sent left-handed pitcher Connor Thomas on a rehab assignment to ACL Brewers. Whatever, Connor Thomas is irrelevant in that news. Big news, Logan Henderson, low man on the totem pole, has been pitching fantastic, but unfortunately, we got to get the big leaguers back. So he is this roster crunch. He'll be back. They're playing the options game. I was listening to Micro Brew. Somebody was talking about the it's like the top 2 rule or something, where if you qualify, it's like Jacob Mizorowski should be up here, and they're literally waiting a few weeks, like probably next week. We might see the Miz either this week or next week because they won't have to lose an entire year of arbitration. So it's all control stuff. So there's just a lot of
they've done that in the past.
Yeah, I mean they have to. It's like I heard some people I know be like
with Frelick actually.
Yeah, yeah. There's been conversations about like, is that the right prudent thing? And it's like, for the Brewers, it has to be the right thing. Like they cannot afford, if Jacob Mizorowski is going to be throwing 100 miles an hour in the 7th inning of his baseball games, we need to keep him for the year. And if that means losing him for these 2 weeks, so be it. Because he's going to be, if he can keep this up, he's going to be incredible. And if we are, shorting our future for some interim play, it's just not the move. So
yeah.
But anyway, so Logan Henderson gets sent back down. And then, Jose Quintana is on a rehab assignment on the 27th. Brandon Woodruff is back in Milwaukee on a rehab assignment. Somebody I was talking to, a guy in the Discord the Brewers Discord I'm a part of, said somebody thought for sure Yoel Payamps would get picked up by somebody, like the White Sox, because they're terrible. He was not. He is back in Nashville. Nobody picked him up, so he got option back. He accepted that assignment, and he's back in Nashville. I was so underwhelmed and unimpressed with Yoel Payamps. It seemed like a guarantee that he was going to give up at least 1 or 2 runs, and he was coming in a lot of big situations. Murph trusted him. He was inheriting runners, but it just was like, you got to be able to work around this stuff. That is what relief work looks like. You are going to inherit runs. We can't trot him out and just know, okay, we are going to give up at least 1 run. In a lot of situations, it was going to end up being a lot more. So it was tough. And then the last big thing today, and he started, Jose Quintana reinstated from the 15-day IL, and they designated Tyler Alexander for assignment. Not surprising. Tyler Alexander has been pitching at the end of games and has been pitching pretty poorly. So while he's been kind of used all over the lineup in terms of starting pitching, relief, closing out games, pitching extra innings, he's not there yet. Thank you for your service, but it's time for you to go reset and take a little break, and we'll see what happens. But
I think that's actually, in my opinion, I think that's kind of how the Brewers are looking at a lot of these guys. Like, you got to remember, a lot of these guys that were brought up is because they didn't have a lot of options. They started the year, what was that now? We're 3 months in, and it was right off the bat, crap. We're starting with injuries, and I don't even think necessarily that, like you said, that we'll never see some of these guys again. I think it was, all right, these guys played at the major level. We see their flaws, send them back down to have them work on them, because now we need to give these other guys a shot. When the time comes for, rosters to expand, or, if someone else gets cold, or if there's another injury, like, these guys are going to be back. I think that this is going to be positive for a lot of these guys, and it's a breath of fresh air for this Brewers team that they can finally make those moves and not be forced to start some of these guys that just shouldn't have been started.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was not on my bingo card to see Tyler Alexander start for this team. It was not on my bingo card to see Logan Henderson start. It's not on my bingo card to see Chad Patrick. I mean, in true Brewers fashion, of course, Chad Patrick and Logan Henderson had been fantastic in their starts, so it is what it is. But
lights out,
But getting Savali, Quintana, and Hall and Ashby all back, this is what you were hoping for, and you were hoping we would see maybe Ashby push to maybe be in the rotation. I think it's pretty all but guaranteed that he's going to be a middle relief innings eater, and that's fine. His stuff is nasty. It is what it is. I think the dream of him becoming a starting pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers is all but gone. Heavy work usage. He's been battling injuries ever since they thought maybe he rounded that corner, but I'm happy with Peralta, Quintana, Chad Patrick, Aaron Savali, and DL Hall. That works for me. DL Hall came back, right? He played, was that Friday? Yeah, it was a Friday game against the Phillies. He came in 3 strong innings, and then Quentin Priester pitched all but the rest of it. Did somebody relief for him? I don't even remember. But a hell of a game from him. Priester, it was like every single out that was made was a contact ground ball in like the 6 innings that he pitched. Just absolutely nutty performance from Quentin Priester. So, he's somebody where you go, we were in desperate mode, so we traded for him. He's been pitching decent, some bad starts, some great starts, but he's going to be another guy. It's like, even if he's not starting, like his ability,
6 innings in the first game against the Phillies.
Yeah. His ability to come in and eat that many innings and produce outs against one of the best team in the National League is not nothing. So, I know people were bummed that we gave away Yoferi Rodriguez, or however you pronounce his first name.
Yeah.
Yoferi. But it is what it is, and they're not standing pat or sitting on their hands, but so they're that was a classic move. So, but it's just great to see everybody back. So so it's great to see everybody back. Hopefully Woodruff will be back, and we can talk about even more depth, and maybe we can see a world where the Brewers become buyers and they really make a push.
I think they're going to need to be, if they're legitimately trying to stay in contention, because the Cubs, with their money being where they are, like they're going to get somebody. You know what I mean? Like these are the big powerhouse clubs that are going to spend that money. St. Louis, obviously, we don't know, because St. Louis admitted they didn't think they'd be here. So
yeah. I mean, we can highlight some guys who are still playing great and looking great in the last, this season. Reese has hit 9 home runs. He's batted in 35 RBIs, a hit monster, 50 in the last 7 days. He's had 3 hits, 2 of which were homers, and that was on the 17-7 game where 2 of those homers were both like 3-run jacks. So the man is absolutely producing. William Contreras, I feel like after there's a lot of pressure on him after the finger announcement, it seemed like people kind of understood that like he's battling through injuries, but in the last 7 days, he's got 6 hits, he's hit a double, he's got 2 RBIs, 5 walks. So I mean, he's getting on base. He's figuring out ways to affect the game, which really matters. And then obviously, last but not least, our Grand Slam walk-off king, Christian Yelich. We were talking about this season how bad it's been. However, in the last 7 games, he's had 11 hits. He has 3 home runs and 9 RBIs. So that's the stuff we need to see from him. Obviously, he came out and we buried the lead by not addressing this sooner. He got pulled from the game after getting hit in the hand with a baseball. So, of course, he's looking great, and then something has to happen. Yeah. The positive news is the reports are that the X-rays came back negative. So it's probably going to be a bruise. It's going to be really tough for him to probably play through that, especially because they have him on like a pretty heavy DH role right now. So, he's just getting his hands up in the box, but hopefully he can come back sooner rather than later and continue this red hot hitting streak. But I'm just happy he doesn't have like a bone fracture or something considerably worse, right? Because this is what we've been talking about this whole time. Like Yelly needs to be producing like this. Reese needs to be producing like this. William Contreras needs to be producing like this. And then you get guys. I mean, Sal's been playing fantastic too. That shouldn't go unnamed. This season he's got 20 RBIs. Like the dude is getting runs in for the team. The last 7 days, 4 RBIs, 12 hits. So like he's figuring it out too. So those are the guys that are what I like to think of as like the cherry on top, the sprinkles. These are the Sunday. The base of the Sunday is our middle of the lineup, and everybody else just needs to get timely hits. And when we can count on our offensive pieces to actually produce offensively, all of a sudden I'm not wanting to pull my hair out when I see Bryce Trang chase a ball out of the zone. Like he's become a serviceable major league hitter, but you have him on your roster because he's a platinum glove winning second baseman. So it's like as we start shuffling our pieces back to the expectations, where we think they should be, how we think this team can play, to your original question 20 minutes ago, I feel a lot better about this baseball team, and they can keep winning. And if the Cubs keep winning and the Cardinals keep winning, then so be it. But they're definitely not rolling over and dying, which is the big thing I didn't want to see. Right. So
yeah, well said. I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, I think that it is kind of ironic that, the team is on a 7-game winning streak and, we're still 5.5 games back in the division and still having conversations of, well, if they can continue this, like, I don't expect them to win 15, 16 in a row. Like, it just needs to be consistent play. Start winning series instead of losing them, right? Yeah. If they can win the next 4 or 5 series instead of losing them, that is huge. That's key. That is the change that needs to happen. And obviously they're proving right now they can do it. Just keep doing it.
Yeah. Easier said than done, obviously. And I only say that because the schedule is pretty tough. We are hitting a really rough stretch of the schedule.
Well, okay, but they also just swept the Phillies. Like,
absolutely, yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We got 3 games against the Reds. That's an easy series win. We got a game. Hope. Yeah. Well, I mean, if they're playing like this, they will beat the Reds. The Reds are a bad baseball. Sure. San Diego, that I would like to see them win 2 of 1. It's at home. The Padres are coming out our way. They are not. Their record is pretty similar to us. I think they have like maybe 1 game up on us. It's really
33-24. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. And then Atlanta. How's Atlanta doing this year? Do you have their?
Yeah, I do. They are rough. They are under 500.
Oh, yeah. They're underperforming, and I know they've had a couple guys go out, and I know a couple guys get popped for some things. I know that their roster is not at full strength, but you can only play who you can play. So yeah, I mean. Yeah, I guess you're right. And then it kind of launches back into the tougher part of the schedule. We're looking at
the teams in our division, Cardinals,
Cubs, and then we're right back at playing.
And then playing the Twins when we were celebrating ending their 13-game winning streak.
Yeah, well, 2 of those wins were. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it's a tough one. Like I said, we just got to win series. That's all we can do. I'm not holding my breath about sweeps. I will say this though: it's very cool. The Brewers. The Phillies had not been swept at home since July of last year. So that's what the broadcast team said after the game. Like, it's not a small feat. They're a very, very, very good baseball team.
Yeah,
And
Phillies are good.
we're catching them. I know that Bryce Harper is out injured because of that hit by pitch, but I've said it before. You can only play who you can play. It's baseball. It's not like you're losing. Yes, he is their superstar, but there's still 8 other guys, right? That's how baseball works. Not one person can win it, and not one person can lose it.
Yep.
In terms of hitting, I suppose. So it's just an incredible weekend in baseball. I was very excited. As you were kind of talking about your London thing, I have my buddy Bobby, who you met at my wedding, my Philly friend in town from LA all weekend. So I got to keep telling him, hey, guess what? The Phillies keep losing. He doesn't really care about baseball, but it's still fun. Still fun to rub it in.
To let him know.
Yeah. So.
Well, so that was good news. Also good news. Well, I think good news, right? Is in Packerland, Jair is playing in the green and gold, right? Like this was
all signs are pointing to the new most likely outcome is that he's going to be back as a Green Bay Packer.
Are we happy about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You have to be. Yeah. He's missed a lot of time. You're not going to hear me say anything other than that. However, he's still the best cornerback on the roster, period. And if he's healthy, you get him for 4 or 5 games, great. They're talking about restructuring the contract. I think it will be very much incentive-based, as in, like, if he plays more games than not, he might be able to earn more money than the $16.5 million, $17 million, whatever it is that he's owed. But, yeah, I never got this. There's people I know that are like, yeah, it's time for him to go. He's bad. Right? And it's just like, he's still fantastic. He's still an incredible football player. After the shoulder injury, he does not attack the box like he used to, but there's plenty of boundary cornerbacks who are not big league tacklers, right? Like, this is why you get good linebackers. You get Quay and Edgerrin meeting or playing laterally so they can crash the box and meet guys in the flats, right? You get Xavier McKinney, and you have Javon Bullard, and you have Evan Williams, and you have Keyshawn Nixon and Nate Hobbs. These are all super talented box players. So it's like, why wouldn't you want the only cornerback that we have that is certifiably able to shut down Justin Jefferson? Like, it's just like such a no-brainer. Like, yes, you want this guy back.
Yeah. I think that people were looking at the time he was playing when he wasn't ready to play and going, Jair's fallen off. And it's like, well, he wasn't healthy. Like he was back, but maybe he shouldn't have been. You know, now we just need to hope that this Jair is a healthy Jair. This isn't still like, remember when we had Bakhtiari back and it was like, okay, Bakhtiari's coming back. And then it was like, and now he's out. And you're just like, okay, so was he ready to go? Not saying that this is that exact situation, but as long as I'm not getting those vibes and it's like, no, Jair's back and he's ready to go, then I'm with you. Hell yeah. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's your Packers news, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of it. I guess like shareholder meeting July 25th. That's kind of interesting. If you're like to go do that, obviously OTAs and minicamp started. Listen, I'm very excited about it, but until we hit mandatory minicamp, it's tough to like. I wasn't there. I'm just catching the same stuff you're catching. You can't read into lineups, adjustments, none of it. You know, we're still waiting on Elton Jenkins. You know, it sounds like he is unhappy with his contract, understandably, given the position change. So we're still waiting on some resolution stuff, but it's kind of hum. Like every team is dealing with, hey, I want my contract restructured. Hey, you drafted this player. Where do I fit into all this? This is all going on. And obviously, once mandatory minicamp starts, we'll have a lot more to discuss about position battles and everything like that. But like right now, they're just throwing stuff at the wall and they're seeing how it sticks. And that's totally fine with me because, that's kind of all the news. I guess the only other, if you care, the Packers announced that they're going to be doing who they're going to be playing preseason games with, like the joint practices.
Oh, yeah.
That's the word I was looking for.
Which I don't.
Yeah.
I never understood the love for joint practices. First of all, there's always a fight with these joint practices. Okay. Yeah. And so it's like the joint practices are more Bravo TV drama than like value to me. And I know that like if I talk to Kuhn or someone else, they'd be like, "You don't understand. Those joint practices are so good. It gets people in the right headspace, man." Maybe I'm not a player. I'm not out there. I'm not doing it. I'd love to believe that. Sure. I'm telling you from a fan perspective, I don't see it. I'm not gaining anything from it.
Yeah. And because it's all vanilla. I mean, it's fun to see how these guys, their competitive streak comes out. The fighting is annoying, that can't happen, like, period. Like, and they're very adamant about like these fights can't break out, but it is interesting to see who can win those practices, because honestly, they kind of dig out and just show more. You see more one-on-one drills in those games than you do in these preseason games. Either way, it's the Colts and then the Seahawks. Those are the joint practices.
Okay.
So the Seahawks will be held in Green Bay, and then the Colts is in Indiana. So, and shout out to any Colts fans. I mean, I don't know why you'd be listening to this, but Jim Irsay passed away, kind of pretty young. He has had a life of partying and is known demons, but obviously he had a family, and he was a passionate owner. So that's just, it's always a bummer hearing news like that. But that is the Packers news. That's kind of it. No need to
I'm maybe I shouldn't, but I'm gonna anyway. Speaking of bummer news, our wrestling news for the podcast. First of all, there's been a lot that we've that's happened since the last time we talked. But R-Truth, Ron Killings, has been, and you correct me on this, he's not been released. His contract has not been renewed. With the WWE, he's gone. Essentially, that's the main thing. He's not going to be in the WWE anymore, and that sucks for, I feel like, a lot of us older Attitude Era fans of wrestling, right? Because for people like me who watched, the Monday Night Wars with my dad and like grew up knowing 80s wrestling and then really enjoying like the 90s into the early 2000s wrestling, the gimmicks and the bits were so important to it, right? Like, obviously seeing the matches, yes, that was still the actual wrestling, but the storylines and the characters that acted out the storylines was so important. And R-Truth was incredible at that, at being able to be the funny guy, right? He was the comedian. I will never forget when I don't even remember I think it was the Royal Rumble, maybe it was, when he ran in with a ladder and climbed the ladder as thinking it was like Money in the Bank, and everyone's just staring at it. Hilarious. Like, that is such a huge and important part of wrestling, of sports entertainment, the entertainment side. And it just sucks that we're not going to have that anymore. And obviously you put a message out on Twitter and let the world know. And so many current WWE superstars that were commenting on it and just saying how upset they were and how much they were going to miss him and things of that nature. A lot of other people, kind of like the way that they didn't believe that Kevin Owens was actually injured. A lot of people are going, this is just another R-Truth gimmick, right? This is just a bit, which to me is such a good sign of it. It shows how good R-Truth actually is, right? If you realize his, broad area of being able to act and cause these type of things, that you're taking a heartfelt message from him and thinking, this isn't real, right? Like, this is just one of those things you do. It just shows his range, and I hate it. I hate that he's gone.
I mean, to be fair, the man's 53 years old.
Sure.
I understand maybe wanting to free up the time and the roster spot for somebody else. And I know they could technically sign everybody, but it is a situation where there's just only so much TV time. I think I know.
But that's the thing. He deserved the TV time. He doesn't need to be in a 25-minute match.
Right.
He can do a 3-minute promo and it's going to kill.
I mean, he could literally do a one-line bit. He called JC JC Mateo, just like a little chubby, and he was just. I mean, we talked about this. I'm on record on the podcast saying he has the funniest comedic timing of any wrestler that's ever lived. I still stand by that.
Yeah.
Santino Marella is close, but man, R-Truth was just so funny, and he could do so many different things. He's an incredible person. He's still going to be rapping. He might find his way to another promotion. Like, I don't think he's done. He definitely, in terms of like that Saturday night main event match with John Cena, he still looks great. But I think it's becoming more and more clear that little storyline was 100% like a, hey, Truth, we're going to get younger in the roster. Because you look at the same thing.
It was a swan song, for sure.
Yeah. Carlito got told his contract wouldn't be released, which makes sense. He came back and they put him back in the Judgment Day, and nothing ever really took off. It got a little crowded. Like, I can appreciate them bringing him back, them trying, but there is a lot of very young, promising talent in NXT, and they're starting the call-ups, and it's like it's officially like, if you haven't figured out how you fit in, you might not be sticking around very long. And I think, like, sadly in R-Truth case, and obviously I never wish anybody to not stay in the WWE because it's obviously the best promotion.
Yeah,
your mileage may vary, but you get my point in terms of financials. It's time for him to go. There's too many new. So
listen, in the ring. Yeah, the beauty of R-Truth is that he didn't need to fit in.
Yeah.
The bit is when he didn't. He'd come out and talk smack and then be told, dude, you're not even in the match. And he'd be like, I'm not? No. Yeah. Like, that was the beauty of it. And it lightened the mood. It made it great. And all you needed to give him was 2 minutes a week, maybe twice a month. I understand that the roster spots and the TV time was valuable, right? And they can't fit everyone. I mean, first of all, they can't, but they don't want to. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But unless it was that R-Truth just wanted too much money for what they were going to use him for, I don't understand why you don't keep him on. And also, I don't think that his gimmick, I don't think who he is hits in AEW. They don't do that. TNA, I mean, take your pick. Like, it had to be the WWE for his comedic timing and value to really shine. I don't want to see R-Truth in, some big hardcore match. Like, that's not why I'm seeing R-Truth. I want to see him on the mic doing a bit, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. That sucked. It sucked.
I'm not happy about it. It's the end of, like I said, an incredible career. And that sucks. It just does, but there's some very exciting things we can talk about. Some quick, I can do more ticker tape transaction time.
There's one name specifically that's a roster move that's happening that I am excited about.
Yeah, I think there's two that have been announced. Actually, there's like 5 that I think are very exciting. First, I think the first one that got called up or hinted at, Roxanne Perez called up on Raw a few weeks ago, but like made it official with her Money in the Bank qualifying match. That's a no-brainer. Roxanne has been ready. She carried the women's division while they were waiting for somebody to take over the mantle. So that's been awesome. I think after that, it was Fraxium, Will Frazier, and Axiom. Yep. I hate the name. I don't love their walkout music. SmackDown is a tag team brand. They're one of the better tag teams on the planet right now. So it's absolutely a no-brainer to bring them up.
Yeah.
The mileage may vary, but they're leaning into it. SmackDown is a tag team brand right now, and so they're fantastic, and they're an exciting, at least something different to watch.
They're very skilled. I don't know that I love the gimmick.
Yeah, they don't really have a gimmick. And in NXT, sometimes if you're talented enough, you don't really need the gimmick. So they're going to have to work on that. But in terms of like when we're talking about not R-Truth, but we're talking about people on the bottom end of the roster, I'd much rather watch guys who wrestle the way Fraxium does and they can find a shtick than proceed to continue to watch the same A-Town Down Under type stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so that's something I'm excited about. And then Julia got announced. Julia, who was your North American Women's NXT champion until she lost it to Stephanie Vaquer. She is fantastic. She's an incredible wrestler. It was a huge get that they got her to NXT. She's already had a couple banger matches. She and Stephanie Vaquer completely revitalized the women's division again at a time where I didn't think they could make it any hotter. They came in and they put belts on both of them, and obviously very clearly strapped rocket ships to their backs because Julia got called up, and then NXT Battleground going in against AEW. Stephanie Vaquer maintains her belt against Jordan Grace. Everyone thought she might lose to that because everyone felt like Jordan Grace was going to get called up. Well, Tuesday, NXT out of nowhere, JC James with some shenanigans becomes your women's NXT champion. So,
which
why?
everyone knew was because Stephanie's getting called up.
100%. And so it seems weird that they didn't put it on Jordan, but who knows? Maybe they want to prolong the chase. Maybe they don't want to blur the call up with Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace is fantastic. She will be the women's champion for probably 6 months to a year. They will be able to put her on it, and she is such a powerhouse. She'll wreck shop in NXT until she's ready to come up. And I think they are trying to space these, right? But the women's division has been feeling a little flat. That's huge criticism, especially with like Bianca being hurt, all this kind of stuff. You basically get to inject two of the hottest wrestlers. Stephanie Vaquer has Rhea Ripley level over. Right now, she's taking the world over by storm. So getting her, I love her.
Incredible. She's the one, by the way. She's the one I
knew it was. I was like, before we got here, I just wanted to list everybody else so that way we can talk. Stephanie Vaquer is going to headline a WrestleMania within the next 2 years. 3 years. That's the kind of like star we're talking about. She's so
everything about her is incredible. Yep. Very excited to see. And honestly, I'm sitting here going, I just hope they don't fuck that up.
Yeah.
I
don't think they can. She's so over. I don't think they can, They can
find ways to do a lot of things. But listen, you're probably right. And I got to give you some credit here because I spend a decent amount of time on social media and on the TikToks. And, I remember you saying, dude, I don't think you realize just how over, Jey Uso is. And I was like, yeah, I see everyone's out there yeeting. Yeah. No, kids are graduating and walking across the stage and saying 4 letters, 1 word, yeet. In their 4 seconds across the stage, they're doing, and not just guys, girls, everything. And I was like, all right, I was wrong. This is huge. This is way more than just people doing this when he comes out to the ring. It's so, I'm gonna take your lead. If you say that, I'm gonna believe you because you were definitely right about that one.
Yeah, she just has it. She has it in a way a lot of talent just doesn't have it. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's kind of like the Braun Breaker stuff. It's just like you saw him run roughshod, and it's like, oh no wonder why they put the IC belt on him. I think you're going to see exactly what they did with NXT. I think within the next 6 months, my prediction is that Vaquer will have the women's IC title. She's going to take it from Lyra.
Yeah.
And I think
Julia should. I hate that where that's at right now, by the way.
Yeah, and I think Julia will win the US belt at some point. I think it's interesting on Zelina. I think she earned a little stint on it. I would love to see Chelsea get it back, but that's going to be Julia. It's like they are going to be the working champions. Yeah. You are going to watch Stephanie Vaquer and Julia wrestle every week on WWE programming for the next 12 months. And I cannot wait because it is another thing too, where it's like they were the biggest fish in a pretty little pond. And so I'm very excited to see what does them working against better talent look like, better matches, I will say about your comment about the Lyra stuff, just touching on that real quick. I think feuding with Becky has made her likable to me. I'm over her title run, but I don't find her nearly as corny. I think Becky and their personal relationship and some of the cheap shots, unlike Tiffany and Charlotte, I think it forced Lyra to dig deep and find a gear on the mic that has made her a significantly better wrestler, and I think is going to position her to be one of the top women in the company in the next couple of years. And I think that's awesome. So I'm over the same stuff you are, but I can at least appreciate what is being, churned up inside of her during all this, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm anti Lyra. I'm just saying this. I don't even mind the feud with Becky. Just get the belt out of the way.
Yeah. Get it on somebody else. Yeah.
It just seems like it's a waste. Also, I want to quickly say before we wrap things up here, I was very close to being like, they're going to mess this all up. with Braun Breaker with his match against Jay. And I was like, you can't have him win this.
No.
Like, you can't have Seth Rollins say, don't worry, I'm going to have my guy beat him up, talking about the world heavyweight champion, and have that guy be, the minion of Seth Rollins. Like, you can't have that. Otherwise, you're putting Braun too high on the pedestal above Seth.
Yeah.
So watching that match, I was really worried that they were just going to have him beat up Jay, and it wasn't going to make any sense. And luckily, they had Jay really hold his own until then Seth had to interfere and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, if they didn't play it that way, what a huge red flag for this whole storyline. And especially because I think that we all sit here and going, Breaker's the next Batista. Like, this guy is.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was thinking about evolution. I mean, he's like, yeah, absolutely. I was gonna actually say he's the next Randy Orton, somebody who is going to have a Hall of Fame career. Not saying Batista isn't, but he let, you know what I mean? And the reason why I say that is because that's why you bring Bronson Reed into this. You make Bronson Reed the monster so you can start really honing, developing a real strong character behind Braun Breaker. Watching him run around.
Breaker just is too much of an animal to be like. Randy Orton was meticulous, and you know what I mean? Like, Breaker just comes at your, he just destroys you.
I guess
that's the Carlito highlight, in his time back.
Was
getting speared out of his shoes.
Yeah. 30 yards down. I guess my thought is like, Heyman attaches himself to surefire things. Heyman is not attached to Seth Rollins. Heyman is setting himself up to be attached to Braun Breaker for the next several years. You know what I mean? And I guess that's my point. It's like the levels of over, and I know Bautista was over, but it's not Randy Orton level. You know what I mean? It's like, this is long-term, like, how do we get Braun to be one of the next guys in the company for the next 10 to 15 years? And I
think
like,
they should.
This is that positioning. 100%.
100%.
100%. And then that means Bronson Reed is now the big, because you look at like Bronson Reed next to even like Seth Rollins, not Bronson Reed. I'm sorry. Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is a wild animal. Like you said, he is an absolute monster. However, he is not dominating in terms of stature. You put a suit on him, he kind of looks like everybody else standing in that ring that isn't Bronson Reed, right? So it's like, so I like that there's a more psychotic person. I also think the Bronson Reed ad was fantastic. He tsunami'd Seth into oblivion, and then all of a sudden Seth goes, yeah, I actually respect it. And I thought the promo that they cut to understand it made a lot of sense. I got one last thing I want to say in terms of wrestling.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's kind of just like a modern, and I've worn this shirt before and I wear it way too much, but my man CM Punk is Stone Cold Steve Austin levels over.
He is. He really
There's
is.
no arguing. Like, he literally is just doing Stone Cold Steve Austin shtick now. What, Monday Night Raw, what was, I think Triple H's name, Paul Levesque, was already scrolling across the screen. Boom. Bang, again. He runs down, beats somebody up, runs into the audience. The roof was blown off the place. He is so incredibly over. And I think it's like so incredibly.
Well, what about when he comes out? First of all, Sammy, I don't even know if this was last week or the week before. Sammy's standing on the skirt of the ring, and Seth and Breaker are in the ring, and everyone is just chanting CM Punk.
Yeah.
Then the music hits. Everyone loses their mind. They cut the music. Everyone's still singing the song. The two guys are supposed to go in the ring and start beating the hell out of the other two guys, and they don't. They wait because everyone's singing Cult of Personality without any of the music. Like, it is just, and the place is just electric to where they had to improvise a little bit just because of the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. CM Punk is, I'm not surprised that it's the case, but what they're doing with him right now is working for sure. One last thing I'm going to say in regards to wrestling. I saw a report. I do not know if this is true, but I saw a report that the WWE is going to start asking crowds prior to the start of live events to not swear. The worst idea I've ever heard. Wrestling fans are going to do the opposite of what you raised them to break the rules. You are asking D-Generation X fanatics and New World Order members to please sit politely, enjoy the show, and not use bad language. When you ask fans to do that, they're going to do it 1,000 times more. I couldn't believe that I read that report. I was like, if they do this, they're so stupid. It will only make things a million times worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I kind of understand. Like we were hoping that potentially the Netflix era would mean we would get back to a more attitude era level, but I just think the brand is too global. It's too international. They're trying to keep it more PG so that way they can broadcast in more conservative countries. I don't love it. You can't force it, but then guess what? Get the mics off. It's like, right. I understand going to the Performance Center in Florida and saying, hey, you got to stop swearing at NXT, right? Like, it's like, this isn't Raw. Like we need, we need to protect this brand a little bit more, but you made an entire living off of holy shit. And this is awesome. And everything else. So get over it. You know what I mean? Or censor it the way you used to. They were chanting this stuff on Fox when they were at SmackDown and you did more editing. Is the editing annoying? Absolutely. But then cut the crowd mics. I don't know what to tell you, but to
do something.
Actively try. I mean, there's a difference between a guy in the front row talking shit the whole time. That is a get out. But it's like, if you've got 5,000 people yelling holy shit, well, sorry, everyone. It's a live sporting event. That's how that goes,
Right. And you're on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, especially with Raw, it's like, I understand you might not want it, but you're not facing FCC regulations. You're playing by different rules. Yeah. So this is your crowd. This is your WWE universe. Censoring them, they should know better. It's not going to end the way you want it to. So I just was crazy. It was insane when I read that.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
okay. Woo!
Wow. Hell of an episode, Josh. We did it.
Man, no breaks. Just go, go, go. Well, this is what happens when you take a week off. You got to come back and you just keep swinging. Like, hopefully the Brewers do. Full circle. Okay. Thank you, John. Love you, bud. This is fun. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening. If you are listening to the podcast, watch us on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on that podcast because we post this on Spotify and Apple podcasts as well. All right. Thank you so much. Make sure to tune in next week. We will be back next week. You know why? Because we're not done yet.
What's up?